So you've qualified for the final. How do you see your chances against the big four-wheel drive cars?
All depends where I am on the line. If we get off the front, we'll sort them out and put the power down. As long as we don't have battery problems and exhaust problems, we should be all right.
Rob Gibson, thanks very much.
10 drivers left on the grid then for today's final, and the fastest 6 will go through and take those last remaining places in next week's Supercar Grand Final. So everything to fight for. Let's rejoin our commentator, Arthur Debenham.
And so today's finalists now on the starting grid, and we look down onto the front row. We can see car number 15, Rob Gibson, with the Porsche. Beside him, the TR8 of number 77, Warwick Barnes. And on the outside of the front row, the rear-wheel drive Fiesta of Bob Smith, number 45. Coming down to the second row, the Turbo Escort of John Hay from Croydon, and 119 Ivan Mokes with his Ford Escort on the outside of the second row. Coming back to the third row, we should see David Spong on the nearest to camera. We do. Car number 197, the Chevette. Beside him, number 8, Dimi Mavropoulos with the Quattro. 100, Gary Baker. And on the back, number 7, John Welch. And there, number 1, our car with the camera inside. That is British champion Trevor Hopkins. And there we can see Trevor with the opposition in front of him. And Trevor making a fairly slow start. And it's Rob Gibson who comes away into the lead. Rob Gibson from Bob Smith with another flying start from Dimi Mavropoulos, but now Trevor's got it underway, and Trevor in a midfield position as they go round and down, tumble downhill, and it's Rob Gibson already taking the advantage, which he knows he's got to do. He wants to get away quickly while the four-wheel drive cars are sorting themselves out, and to try and get a winning margin in front if he possibly can. But as we see Trevor chasing John Welch up the hill in his 15, Rob Gibson, Dimi Mavropoulos coming through on the inside there. Going with him, it looks like Ivan Mokes. Mokes dropping down into 4th as John Welch comes through into 3rd place now. Gibson leads. Gibson along the knife edge, very determined little character from Cheshire. He leads Dimi Mavropoulos, who is still holding off Grand Prix title holder John Welch as they go over Hoppy's drop. Hoppy up there, well placed now in 5th position as the leaders come down. We see Rob Gibson with already a fairly good cushion over the first of the four-wheel drive cars. At the Quattro of Mavropoulos as Trevor Hopkins goes down behind Johnny Welch, and Gibson in troubles. Gibson up onto the tyres in the chicane, and that puts Mavropoulos now into a leading position. Dimi Mavropoulos leading from John Welch, Trevor Hopkins in 3rd. So the 3 four-wheel drive cars are now 1, 2, 3. I don't know if Gibson's managed to get going again. No, he hasn't. Gibson's still down there in troubles and off on the outside of the chicane, and that looks like the end of the line for Rob Gibson in this afternoon's final. Still the leader is Dimi Mavropoulos as the 2 escorts begin to mount a challenge behind him, but I think maybe Johnny Welch is having to work very hard to fend off Hopkins and cannot concentrate too much on the leader. He'll be wanting to get away from Trevor, and as I speak, that he is now doing, and beginning to close on Dimi Mavropoulos. Not only closing, but passing him. Going past Dimi as they go away along the knife edge, and so it's Escort, Quattro, then Escort. Now it's Trevor's turn to look at the back end of the black Audi Quattro, but Mavropoulos really on form now as he comes down towards the chicane. The noses dive under braking, then left and right flick through the chicane, up the hill. This is where the power tells, up onto the top of Tumbledown Hill. John Welch's car going into the lead. Mavropoulos still holding on Hopkins for 2nd place. Those 3 cars well clear of everybody now. It's a 3-car race in every sense of the word as they come down through the S's with a lap and a half to go. It's still number 7, John Welch, from number 8, Dimi Mavropoulos with the British champion Trevor Hopkins right there in contention in 3rd place. Very close between the 3 drivers still. Round Druids down into the adverse camber of Langley's Gap. As the leaders come away, it's still John Welch from Dimi Mavropoulos and Trevor Hopkins. Cars bucking and bouncing their way along the tortuous knife edge section. Windscreen getting filled in there on the Trevor Hopkins car. But Trevor now into 2nd place. Hopkins into 2nd place. The Escort's now 1, 2. Dimi Mavropoulos has dropped back. There is Dimi now coming into shot in 3rd place. But it's Johnny Welch once again going away in the lead with the Sealing STP car. Flame you see there from the exhaust on the overrun of the turbocharged engine. So it's John with the X-Track. The works development car there of Trevor Hopkins. Trevor looking very collected inside the car. Note how lightly his hands grip the steering wheel as he comes up to mount a challenge for the lead. And Hopkins getting alongside Welch. And these two very, very experienced men, perhaps the two most experienced men in British Rallycross, as we saw momentarily there. Mavropoulos in a bit of trouble, but up into and round Druids, coming down for the last time, the short descent of Graham Hill into Langley's Gap. And Hopkins in trouble, Hopkins pulling off. And at the very end, it's going to be a very, very comfortable victory here this afternoon for car number 7, Johnny Welch, and Hopkins' car there, number 1. Rejoining. Well, I thought maybe he pulled off with troubles, but John coming over the hill there at the top of Hockey's Drop. Very convincing victory in the end as number 1. Trevor Hopkins comes through. Trevor Hopkins finishing there intact, so he must have misjudged the corner. Well, poor old Rob Gibson, his car very firmly entrenched in the tyres on the exit of the chicane. It just hasn't been his day. Trying desperately hard, if not to take victory, to be the highest placed two-wheel drive car, but no luck for him. And he's dislodged quite a few tyres there. In fact, I think he's brought some right across the track from the other side, just being replaced by the marshals as Rob takes what looks to be a comparatively undamaged Porsche back to the paddock.